Hi, Lyssa here. So today, the common coaching mistake that I see when I'm doing mentor coaching is falling a little too in love with that new technique. So over the years, and really frankly, over the years, we've seen an abundance of techniques that people take classes on so that they can become better coaches. And it could be anything. It could be emotional intelligence. It could be laser coaching. It could be really any technique. The sort of the latest one that I'm seeing a lot of is the positive intelligence training that people have been going through. And what you find is whatever the technique is, whether it's voice dialogue, I mean, it really could be anything, where the coach then is so enamored with this new technique that they drive it into every coaching conversation, or at least the coaching conversations that I'm hearing. So the client is saying something to the effect of, that was a really hard situation, and I didn't like the way that it went down. And the coach maybe inserts something to the effect of, well, which of your voices is that? Or which saboteur is showing up for you in that moment? And it's not that there's anything wrong with bringing forward the idea of voices or the idea of the saboteurs, or where is your, we may ask somebody about their values if we've gotten a lot of values training, or character strengths. And these are all fine in and of themselves. It's when the coach falls a little too in love with it and they begin inserting it everywhere into the conversation. Values are a little more broad because the client's at liberty to determine what their value is in a situation. So it's not really the same thing as saying, is that your inner critic that has just shown up? That is a closed-ended question, and it doesn't give the client very much wiggle room. And two, there are ways to use yourself and your training as a way to inform your curiosity. So for instance, if a client is really getting down on themselves and really negative about themselves in a moment, as a coach, instead of saying, is that your inner critic that's shown up? Or I think I just heard your judge, or whatever the language is that you might be using from your training, there's another way of inviting the client to name it for themselves, where we're being a bit more transparent as a coach. I'm hearing a lot of self-judgment or self-criticism here. What are you noticing as you look back over what you just said, or as you think about what you just said, or as you have just heard yourself saying it, right? So what we're doing is we're really opening it up. We may be sharing a reflection and an observation based on our training, but we're still leaving it very open for the client to determine whether that's true or not. So the client may say, it isn't my inner critic, because there's real truth to what I'm saying. And so there's that place where it's real. Or the client might say, yeah, that's that inner criticism that is showing up again. And then the coach needs to ask the client, is this something that would be useful to explore as we're working towards what your goal for the session is? We want to leave our clients with as much choice as possible. We want to be careful that our enthusiasm and excitement about a new technique or a new language doesn't overwhelm our sessions with our clients, because we're inserting it and we're hearing it everywhere. Another place where I see this happening is when coaches are using a lot of mindfulness practices. And so they go to, as soon as the client is upset about something, would it be useful to take a few breaths right here? Let's do a visualization. Let's do some breathing exercises. Now, this can be incredibly useful for a client depending on the situation that shows up in the coaching conversation. On the other hand, again, it goes to this idea of, would it be useful if we were to do some sort of calming exercise? And if yes, what would that be? So that the client can determine, I'd really like to take a few deep breaths right here. Or no, I'm okay. I don't need to. And it's really interesting also, because often these techniques show up because we don't know what to do with what's shown up into the space. And so we throw in a technique versus just being really curious and turning it back to our client and saying, you've just said a lot here. What are you noticing is most important for us to explore? And there's that transparency piece again, where we don't have to know what the right question is as far as the context of what the client is sharing. We can just ask the client to lead us through this conversation in a way that's most meaningful to them. And this is especially true if you're doing a recording for mentor coaching. Well, in mentor coaching, it doesn't matter because you're going to get feedback from your mentor coach. And so do whatever it is that you do so you can get some real clear feedback. But if you're doing a demonstration for, say, your ACC, your PCC, or your MCC application, where you've got to have some recordings that demonstrate your capacity, I remember hearing MCC coach talk about this when I was going from PCC to MCC myself. And she said, as soon as you bring in the technique, you are out of coaching. And so you won't pass, especially at the MCC level, you will not pass that assessment. So I've been very thoughtful about that since I heard that. And I don't think, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with having these techniques, but I do think it's really important that when we're doing a coaching session with a client, that we offer them the opportunity to determine whether or not that is something that is going to be useful for them in the moment. And we offer it with very little attachment. And if we're doing a recording for a PCC or MCC, especially, maybe we just leave that piece out and we stay in our coach role. So fall in love with your techniques, but always remember, you are the tool. The tool is not the tool. You are the tool. Your capacity to be curious based on being informed by what you know about the world, the techniques that you've learned, is great. Using the tool as the tool, it can sometimes really derail the coaching because it becomes the coach's agenda and not the client's. So I hope that's useful for you, and have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you on another Common Mistakes.